Hi there, it's Trena at John's Furniture Repair in here with another project, and it's actually the second piece to a beautiful walnut vanity that we did a while ago, and there's a video on it. You can check it out. So there's 3 pieces in the set. This is the second one, and we're basically just going to be doing the same thing, stripping it down, giving it a light sand, a little bit of repairs on some drawers, and getting it to look as good as the other one. So let's get at it. Okay, so I'll just show you a couple details that we'll be dealing with. This beautiful molding that kind of comes around the whole way here needs a little bit of work in a couple places. It's just been smashed because the drawers are kind of hitting each other, so you can see where it's kind of getting hit in places there and needing some help. And other than that, the finish is just really worn off. You can, or worn and old. You can just kind of see the alligatoring there in the light. These guys need a nice polish. We need to replace a little piece of the molding that's missing here. Down here, we got some drawers that are in serious need of some repair. This drawer has been rubbing pretty heavily on the next one, causing this damage. So a lot of times it's because these guys start rubbing, these guys get worn down. It's just general more damage, but you know, maybe it's this one that's gotten worn down and it's sitting lower. So we'll just address all of the issues with the drawers so they're working beautifully. The other thing we're going to be doing is removing this piece. There is a mirror that goes with this set, but they already have a mirror with the vanity, so they don't want 2 mirrors. So we're just going to take this off and repair the holes underneath and just have it as a plain dresser. And there's a couple of cracks in the laminated legs. The back panel is a little bit loose and has a few issues where the old mirror used to attach that we'll address as well. And yeah, so basically just giving it a refresh and getting it back to its beautiful state. There's some really nice book-matched burled veneers that were also on the other piece that we saw. So those will really pop with a refinish. And it's nice how they've done this. You see the maker chose these 2 pieces to go together. This is all one nice split. So they did one plank that way and the other plank this way. So there's 2 of the same emblems that kind of get shown in the veneer. And I just love this wave that comes out of here and here too, and then it just kind of squiggles off into more quiet. So it's so beautiful because you have that center of your dresser, and the dresser is kind of rounded in the front, and you can really catch the artisticness that they wanted on the dresser. And you can't do that with solid wood. It's way too difficult and way too expensive. So veneer is a beautiful thing, and it can be a beautiful, beautiful addition to add some character to furniture. So let's get this taken apart and start stripping. Okay, so I've got all the drawers out of this dresser, and I'm noticing some pretty severe wear, pretty good divots, like that one really carved in there. So we're gonna have to repair that definitely before we get into even looking at the drawers. These guys are all loose, not really holding their own there. So those will need repair as well. And the drawers themselves are in pretty bad condition. For one thing, the actual side runners here are really skinny, so it's difficult to not have that happen in the drawers when this is designed. It's supposed to put most of its weight on the center, but also we've got nails sticking out here, which if that's the case, there's usually some pretty big gouges, which I'm surprised. There are, you know, evidence of a few tear outs here, so just starting to happen. I'm glad it hasn't chipped away at the front yet. And so yeah, those are not in great condition. Someone has added some nails to the sides here, and this is broken, chunk missing. This guy is pretty broken, nails here and through the dovetails. This one looks like it's okay on this side. Same thing here. So most of the drawers need attention, and everything's kind of falling apart everywhere. Not too serious, but needs attention. So I'm thinking what I'm gonna do on the inside of these drawers is two things. I am gonna be putting veneer strips on the inside where everything's worn. And also, what I've done before is add glue on another board to make this a wider surface here. And that will just allow this side to run on more than just the very small amount of area. So it can actually pick itself up and run here instead of in the groove. So those two things should fix it. I would only have to do that one thing if I wasn't super detailed in my repairs, but I'll probably just repair that and do that as well. So we got it covered on both parts. And then reglue all those, repair the drawers, probably reglue them, resquare them, and see how they're fitting. So I think I'm gonna do that before I do any stripping, and get everything working good that way, so that you know, we can use the finish as a protectant on the wood while I'm tossing drawers back and forth. So let's start on the interior here with the veneers. Okay, so working on the inside here, I've cut little alder strips, some hardwood, and I've just been fitting it in here, doing a little bit of work, getting the groove cleaned out. So it's a little shallow at the front, so I just chiseled and used the file a little bit, but mostly just shaped my piece here. So it's actually skinnier at each end that I just sanded down on the sander. So it's kind of skinny, and then it goes wider, and then skinny again at the end. And I've got it to the point where it fits in that groove flush. So now if I glue this down, how am I going to clamp it in there? So I'm gonna use these blocks, and I'm just going to jam them up against the top of the frame, and it's just gonna hold it down. And I've got 5 of these blocks, and I'm just gonna do it one at a time. I'll have to cut different sizes for the other drawers, but for the top one, I'll do it one at a time here. And just get it fit that way so I can put pressure on the piece. So I'm gonna get some glue in the groove. And then the last one right here in the front. It's a little short. Grab a little piece of veneer. There we go. So it's all nice and flush, sitting in there. You can kind of see all the pieces kind of just held in tension there along the top. So that'll only need, you know, half an hour sitting in there, and then I can take this off and sand it so it's all smooth. There are little edges that are a little high, but I'll be able to plane that down nicely. So that's what I'm gonna do for all the grooves. All right, in the meantime, I can reglue these guys, and I'm just gonna try to get them back into their original holes. I will try to check square with this inside frame here. We can't out here because it's rounded. But I'm just gonna get some glue underneath these and pop the nails back in. So I'm gonna start the nail back here before putting it in, just because it's really hard to see it back there, and I'm gonna have to hammer kind of weirdly. So I'm just gonna pop some glue here. And then I'm gonna replace this nail because it's been chipped off and a little bit too short. So this is not gonna go through this board. So why not put a heftier nail in? So I'm just gonna pin this one down. If you ever are trying to nail something on a bouncy surface, hold a hammer behind what you're hammering, and it'll give it a little bit more dead flow. And then you'll be able to actually get the nail in. Otherwise, they just bounce and you can't ever get them in. And I bounced all my nails off of here. That's okay. All right, so now I'm gonna check my square and align the slide with that. And that looks like where it is. So I'll have to get my hammer back there. Hold it right under. Now I'll just recheck it. Yeah, that looks good. Okay. Awesome. So got that one taken care of. The other ones aren't completely off, but they could use a re-glue. So I'll get some glue under those and just pop them back down. Okay, so I've got 2 of them chiseled down nice and flat here with the surface. So those are ready. And we just got one more to do here, which I've got all ready to go after these 2 come out of the clamps. All these guys are all glued down. I had a clamp to this one because it was kind of bowing right there. So all those guys are nice and sturdy. So we've fixed the symptoms of the drawer bottoms, or sorry, the symptoms of the drawers not functioning. Now we need to fix the reason why they were doing this, which is these skinny hardwood runners. So I want to use more surface area of the drawer. I want to use this whole rail in here instead of just, you know, a very small 1/4 inch. So I'm probably going to grab something. I'm not sure which wood I'm going to use. If I'm going to use like a semi-hardwood or if I want to use the same as they've got there, and put something together that way. Maybe I'll stick with the alder that I've got going. Let me root through this pile and see what we got to mill up a couple of rails, or runners, I should say. So I basically just want to glue not onto the drawer bottom, but onto the side here. I want to glue a piece that kind of doubles the surface area of this runner. It's very, very thin and sharp, and it's going to continue to cut through that area. So this is the reason why it was happening, and we need to make sure it's not going to happen again. So they're pretty huge drawers. If you've packed them up full of weight, they can really do damage to the inside there. As you saw, there was a ton of sawdust already in there. So let me find some wood and see what we can make out here. Okay, so I decided to go with poplar. I'm not going to put these on right now. I'm actually going to rebuild the drawers first, but they'll kind of go on like this. Need to make them a little bit skinnier, but that's the idea. And I don't know if I'm going to make them much skinnier because this is actually pretty worn. If you look at the side, it kind of dips down because it wore down as well. So we need to make sure, you know, what the original measurement was on the drawer sides, which you can usually get right at the tip here, this whole measurement, to see exactly what it's supposed to be. Looks like I'll still have to take it down a little bit, but that's okay. Better than too small. So right now I'm just going to start rebuilding drawers so we can start dealing with all of their issues. So let's get this guy going. Okay, so this one is in better shape than the other ones. And I'm just checking the dovetails. There's no movement there on either side. They look like they're nice and tight. The drawer bottom looks like it's in good shape. So basically what we're just going to be dealing with is a loose couple of nails here, and then these sides that we need to glue on. So let's grab a couple of our runners. Just going to take a look here. I'm going to grab a measuring tape and measure what the actual width is supposed to be on these guys. And then get that from right here at the tip where it's not worn. So it looks like 5 7/8. So when I look at that, it should be the same back here. Not too bad, but we are missing that extra lift. So what I might do is, because this is so close to what it's supposed to be, is glue this on and then shave it down if I need to on the drawer itself. Okay, so I've got them all sanded and cut to length. So what I'm really going to be careful about is not gluing these to the drawer bottom itself. I just want them glued to the side. So I'm not going to use a lot of glue. I'm just going to use a very small amount, so I have no squeeze out on this part where that's going to be against the drawer bottom. I do want it to be pushed down. It'll help support that drawer bottom and the weight of it as well, which is another thing I like about this type of repair. There's, you know, this thin piece of wood also has a mortise cut into it for the drawer bottom. So a lot of times we see, and there are a couple of these, this section broken. If there's a lot of weight in the drawer and it's constantly pulling on this, it can cause it to break as well. Now the nice thing about this drawer is it has that center support and holds a lot of weight with that. So this is an okay design, just not for the runners. So I'm just going to do that on both sides, and that drawer will be all repaired. Okay, so this drawer is a different story. It's very much not okay. We're going to need to be taking it apart. It's got nails through the dovetails, and they are loose, and nails back here as well. The bottom of the drawer is in pretty gross condition, so I think I might take the opportunity to strip this panel when it's out. And there is quite a few chunks out of the inside here on the face as well. So, there we go. So not a lot of resistance coming out. And I'm happy it's not split in more places. It does have a split right here, but once we get these nails out of here and reglue the drawer, it'll all be fine. There we go. That side doesn't have any cracks, so we'll just get the nails out. Yeah, so there's just a couple of veneer issues here on the inside, some chipping that's happened. Looks like there was a repair here at some point. And some bad work on here. Like that. This is also the piece that has the missing trim here that we need to replace. So they've got a lot of extra nails in here. So I'll pull these guys out. Yeah, these guys are not original. Okay, so I've just noticed, because I could see little gaps along the top and the frame, so I was just trying to tighten screws, but they're all stripped. I don't know what the heck's happened. This is not normal. I go to tighten them up, they just keep turning in there. So I'm gonna take them out. I don't know if they broke or, no, they're just stripped out. So, same thing was happening on this side. It's just turning and not actually holding the top down. And then they usually got a couple screws back here that are really difficult to get to. This one wasn't tightening either, and you can see up there, you can almost see daylight through the gap there. So it's kind of weird that the top would have stripped screws. I mean, I don't know why the top would ever have come off. It might have just been that way from the beginning. Yeah, so it looks like these are just really stripped out. So I'll just fill these with some glue and some sticks and put them back on. Okay, so I've got a couple of the drawer pieces in clamps, gluing up this back piece with the splits in it there, and from its 1000 nails. And this piece is stripped, looks like a rosewood panel, which is pretty cool. So I'm just gonna sand that and give it a little bit of a stain before I put it back together. And I'm working on getting this drawer repaired. We did a couple of glue ups on some of those loose veneered chips on the inside, and a little bit of putty fills with some epoxy putty I had left over from filling some of the holes for the back where the mirror used to go on the top. So I'll show you those. I've got the top off here. I'm thinking I might strip it off the piece, but there was a whole bunch of holes on the back of this, really deep actually, and I just filled them with epoxy. They're not putting the mirror back on, so they don't need to screw back into that area. But I thought while I've had this in clamps waiting, I would address this issue. So I've got a piece of walnut here, and I'm just gonna cut a little 45 on it and start planing it down. So I just wanna kind of eyeball that 45 cut there. Now I'm gonna sharpen this pencil, but I'm also gonna be using the little plane for this. And I've got this really interesting tool, really tiny little plane. It's a pencil plane from Maker's Cabinet. And they've sent me a few products that I'm gonna be using in the videos and showing you just how beautiful these tools really are. So this was sent to me, and he just wanted me to try them. We're not, under contract to like these things or anything, but here's the little plane, and you get little blades right here that you pop in and on a little magnetized slide, just like your plane would be, but it's just a magnet that holds it in place, and then you can screw and adjust in and out. So you also, there's a little leather case you can get, but there's also this little holder too, which is handy because it's so small. A little rosewood piece here that you can kind of pop the guy into and use it that way. So I'm just going to sharpen this pencil first, and it does a really nice job. If you've got really nice drawers pencils that you want a specific point on, and you want to be really careful not to take off more than you need to, you just want to kind of hold it at one angle. And you can adjust the blade to take more off or less off than you want. Now, I don't get too particular about my pencils and my drawing utensils in the shop here, but if you did, this would definitely help you do that. What I'm kind of excited to use this for is little trim pieces like this that I have to make, that I can be really precise about getting the angle. Because of such a small tool, I can use a lot more precision in the process. So that'll be fine for this. So I'm just going to eyeball this angle here, kind of hold it straight on that one edge, and just give it good. So now that we've got that angle cut there, I can just kind of see where I'm at. So it looks like I need to take off about 1/8 of an inch on the inside of this, and this is how long it is. I'm going to make it a little tiny bit longer so I have something to hang on to while I'm bringing it out of the plane. And then I'm going to take this to the sander and just take off about that 1/8 of an inch on the whole piece here. Yeah, that's really nice. So now I can use my, I'm gonna have to clean out this groove too, because this is inlaid in and the little piece of the old one is still stuck in here. I'm gonna kind of break it away from the edge there. I think that, and it collects all your little shavings in there too, which is what this is, I guess, a shaving collector. So I'm gonna actually push this blade back in a bit. It's a little bit too aggressive for this walnut, kind of wants to tear out. So to do that, you loosen this screw and you're just going to pull back this holder here, the blade holder, and keep it at that. And you can tighten it up there, and then the blade won't be sticking out so much. Okay, so I've got this sanded and it can fit in the groove nicely with a nice tension fit. So now I just need to round off the edges, and I'll do that on the pencil plane. I'll just run over the edge at one angle. Take off the meat of that edge. And check the fit again. Yeah, that's perfect. Okay, so we'll just get some glue in here. Okay, so that guy's in there. I'm gonna pop a couple of, actually I'll just pop this guy on to hold it in place. Right in the middle. And that looks really good. So that has all the repairs done, just needs to have the finish stripped, and we can move on to the other drawers. Okay, so I've got the top drawer here ready to glue. Decided just to get this one finished. So I've got it all stripped. I haven't sanded it yet. I thought I'd do that after I fooled around with getting it back together. These dovetails don't fit great anymore, so I'm going to be gluing this together with epoxy just because of the damage to the dovetail joints. So I'm just going to get these guys all full of stuff. And we've got the bottom all stained, looking really nice and clean. So I'm going to pop that in because this drawer, you got to put this in first. And we never glue in drawer bottoms. All right, so I did a fair bit of swearing at this drawer. Things just did not want to stay together, and I had to double up clamps, which makes it a little bit annoying. I need to get some longer clamps. Anyways, we got it all together here and squared, and we'll just leave that and let it settle for the day. But sometimes drawers make me want to scream. They're kind of the most frustrating thing aside from chairs. Chairs can be pretty big jerks too. Anyways, it did not win. There it is in clamps, and we can move on to another one. We got two more to go. That one is repaired, and we've got the gliders glued on, the additional gliders. We do need to do a little bit of a repair here and strip the face, but I think I'll move on to the carpentry on the next chairable friend. So this guy, let's get him on the workbench. All right, so looks like we're going to be taking this apart. There's a lot of movement in the joints here, and there's a couple nails in the dovetails as well. So we'll just pop these apart like we did the other one. Yeah, we've got a bunch of stuff in there. We'll just pull these guys out, add it to the collection. No nails in that side, but it's pretty loose, so we'll re-glue it at the same time. There we go. Yeah, so a few repairs on the trim as well, here and up here, but everything else looks pretty good. This is a beautiful job with the veneer. None of the veneer is really loose on this piece, so it's nice when that happens. So again, whole bunch of extra nails, and these were really hard to pull on the last one. These are corrugated nails that have been added, and those buggers are just really stuck in there. So the tacks come out pretty easily because they're smooth and they're not very long. So I'll try to get those out first. Okay, so we've taken care of the damage caused by the bad design inside the dresser, as well as the reason why it was happening. But now we have to repair this area too to make it so it's a nice broad slide. So I can't just put this piece on because that's the same problem that I'm creating. We need to add wood back here. So I've flattened this out and I'm just taking pieces of wood and laminating them on. If these were wider drawer bottoms, I could have just done this and we would have been good to go. But because they were so skinny, we needed to, address the reason why everything was happening in the first place. So I'm just going to plane them down after I glue them on here. And then we'll have a nice wide surface. And everything will get a nice heavy waxing, so it's all going to glide nicely. And again, these center runners are really awesome because they take a lot of the weight of the drawer. But now we'll be able to really distribute the weight nicely across the whole frame. Yeah, so I've got one cut here to go and just get glued right on, and then we'll just give it a good wax and she'll be ready to go. This guy is all glued up. We just need to attach the bottom drawer to the back, and really nice and sturdy for all the trouble it gave me. And the top stripped up nicely. I am going to steam the top because you can see a lot of these little dents and things that are in the veneer that I want to steam before we start sanding. Because for the most part, I want to keep the patina of this piece intact, so you really want to minimize your sanding as much as you can. So all these little impressions, I guess you could call them, that have compressed the wood from something hitting it or rubbing it hard or just impacting it a little bit, will lift with the steam. So what happens is the water goes on, swells the fibers, the steam kind of does a mini boil of the water in the fiber, and it puffs it up like puffed wheat or something like that. Anyways, and so those impressions will puff back up, the fibers will puff back up, and you'll be able to sand the surface completely without having those dents in. So we'll get that done. And yeah, so I'm still working on these drawers. I know it seems like a lot of work, but it's kind of fixing a design issue. That's the problem. So I've got to add those veneers to this drawer that we glued a couple days ago, and then this one as well will need everything, and we can keep going, but it's worth it because this will last a lot longer and I won't have to be repairing drawer slides again, because that's a pretty difficult repair. Working inside a dresser like this, you can't really take these drawer slides out because they're part of the structure. They're in the frame of the piece. So doing this type of thing is time consuming, and you don't want to have to do it again in the future once this piece gets back into use. So it's important to take your time and repair the reason why things are happening, not just the damage from what happened. So let me get back at it. Okay, so I've got that top drawer upside down here, and I'm going to put a couple nails back in. There should be a nail in here, two here, two here, and two here. That's it. So I'm going to use as much of the original ones as I can, and I'm pretty sure that these holes here are the original. They've got a little bit more of a defined not rusted, but discolored area where the old nail head would have sat. So I'm going to try to realign. Sometimes I have to get a clamp and push this panel a little bit farther in. So let's do that. Try to get it all the way seated. There we go. So that your nail goes into the center of that skinny little board. Good stuff. And then it looks like another one was right here. it's too close to the edge. Just gonna tear this out. Hi, Mina. My daughter's playing in the snow today. Okay, so sometimes no nail is better than a nail. So I'm just gonna glue these pieces back and leave it alone. It's glued down, so it doesn't need an extra support there. It's just making matters worse, like nails usually do. I mean, they're necessary sometimes, but not here. And then that'll be good enough for the little chip. So next I'll put the side runners on these guys. All right, so I finally got all of the drawers repaired, stripped, and fit into where they go. Everything's working really nice and looking really good and lining up really nicely. These drawers have a really nice, if you don't pull them out halfway, really nice glide to them, really soft. It even feels more substantial now that we've got a thicker glide on it. So it looks really good. Just have the rest of the cabinet to strip down. So have the old finish there, but these guys are all good and ready for a sand. So I'll call it a night because it's dark outside, and get back at it tomorrow. Okay, so I hummed and hawed quite a bit about this back panel, and I've decided I'm just going to replace it. There's nothing really special about it, except for the number 237, which I can write on a new one. It's just the production number of this cabinet. And it's not in great shape. It's the laminates have all come apart. It's got a lot of damage from the mirror that used to attach here. It's bubbled. It's just really warped and kind of a mess. So I think it's had a life, and now it's over. So I'm gonna... All right, so there it is, stripped down, repaired, sanded, the whole works. So we are ready for stain, and if you remember the last piece that we did, we used a Varathane gel stain, a walnut gel stain, and so I'm going to grab that and get the stain rolling. But pretty big journey to get to this point, and sometimes it just ends up being that way. But I'm really happy with everything and how it's working. Put a new back panel on, it looks nice and clean. Might tint that down a little darker. And yeah, so the drawers work like butter. When I get the handles on, I'll show you. But everything is aligned and working really smoothly. So let's get some stain on this guy and finish it up. All right, guys, so I got this thing sanded after 2 coats of lacquer. And if you remember, if you watched our vanity, burled walnut vanity video, this is the piece that goes with it. We had to do a little bit of color work on these pieces. Now this is our one piece of walnut right here that we replaced that was missing. And that's kind of the tone that I want to go for everything. So it's just a little bit darker than the rest of it. And what we have to do is tape everything off, and it's kind of a pain in the butt, but it is what it is. So I'm just gonna do it the quick way and do all the drawers at once. And then also, you know, these edges as well, because this is a, again, a poplar frame with veneered walnut. So we'll have to do all of those tints. And it's not going to be a ton of color because I don't mind. I think that, and as we did on the other piece, these pieces should be a little bit accented, but not that much. So I'm just going to get this all under tape and do a little bit of work here and on the bottom on these little curved parts. And I'll probably end up just shading the, taping this off here too. This doesn't need tint, but this part and this part does. So we'll just work with that. All right, so all colored up. Another 2 coats on the top, 1 coat on everything else, sealing in all that color work. And just look at the difference. Totally cohesive. Those trim pieces are still showing up, but not overtaking the entire look. So you can really see the burl and appreciate the design of the whole cabinet, not just little things that are sticking out everywhere and catching your eye. So we'll let this dry, and then we'll be sanding everything down one more time and hitting the inside of the drawers, because we did restain those and one drawer bottom is new. So we'll need to do a couple coats on the inside, and then it will be handles and done. Okay, so there it is, guys. It's all finished and it's looking absolutely beautiful. So nice to see that beautiful burled walnut shining. You can't do that with solid wood. And the hardware is all shined up. Remember all of the work that we did on the interior drawers. That was 80% of this job. You don't even see it, but you feel it when you open that drawer, and it's just butter smooth. And how they line up and the spacing and everything there, and they're not running into each other. And we made a new piece of trim right there and fixed some other spots as well. You remember we reattached the top because it was loose. And we did end up making a new back panel, so that's just tinted back here. All sturdy and beautiful new finish on everything, and now it matches its beautiful little brother that we did. If you haven't seen the matching piece to this, we did the burled walnut vanity in a previous video, so check that out on the channel, and make sure to check out all of our videos if you were enjoying this one. And thank you so much for your support, and if you'd like to buy me a coffee for this one, there's a link in the description below. And I just appreciate the community that you guys have created with me here. I really do appreciate all your beautiful comments and stories. And so yeah, thanks for joining me on this one again, and stay tuned for more. Cheers.